Hello and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Carl. I came in hot this morning. It's early Sunday morning, and well, it's not really that early because you can see it's light out. So, if you're used to construction hours, then forget about it. We're halfway done with our day by the time it gets light in the winter, it seems. But two things. The first thing I want to talk about is the Brawler came out, my collaboration with Thursday Boots, and I was prepared to have to do a little bit of battle and deal with comments and hate and all that stuff. And, I'm only human. For the most part, it does, negative comments, stuff like that, they really do kind of slide off my back. I almost see it as, if you play video games at all, which, I play a few and when I have time, honestly, I wish I had more time because I would totally rock more video games. But when I'm playing like Breath of the Wild or something like that, what happens in the game will upset you, but then you get back to real life and it doesn't really affect my real life, right? So I can get mad that like I just can't get past this spot or whatever, and it's really frustrating and it's starting to drive me crazy. But then when I like turn off the game, I may be a little bit of a bad mood because of that, but very quickly I kind of go back to, okay, yeah, but this is reality. And I think that right there is the problem. When things start going from existing in the land of YouTube online kind of stuff to, real life, that line could get very blurry. And so the first thing I want to talk about this morning is I saw something with Finn McKenty. If you don't know who he is, he had a channel called The Punk Rock MBA, and he had a lot of videos. I liked his stuff. It got, it was always like he covered different bands and stuff, right? So if you didn't like that band, you probably didn't really watch the video. But there was a few that I liked that I would watch and check out. And I thought this guy, he looks kind of like a guy who I would have hung out with back in the day. I think he's around my age, So growing up in Connecticut, there was this like hardcore scene, right? Where you could go to all these different places and see these little underground shows, and they would be in rooms no bigger than this one right here. And I saw some great bands. Killswitch Engage when they first started out. Hatebreed is from Connecticut. Blood Has Been Shed, which was the original singer who joined. They had a singer who joined Killswitch Engage later on. This guy Howard. And anyway, long story short, I came up in that scene, and this guy seemed like he was a kind of a part of it. So I felt this automatic kinship with him. And here's a guy who seemed to have this love of music, which I also share, and so it was a channel that I think I was subscribed to for a little while, but then after a little while, like, you know how it is, like subscriptions kind of go and come into your feed, and, sometimes you kind of grow out of them, or maybe you're tired of them for a little bit or whatever, or they're putting out too much content and you're like, all right, you're just flooding my feed and I'm just going to take a break. And so I think that he kind of did that a little bit. He filtered in and out. Well, he recently kind of disappeared, and I noticed that on LinkedIn, he was posting a ton. And it was nothing to do with music. It was kind of bizarre. It was enough so that I think I had to unfollow him because, again, it was just like I keep getting like just bombarded with these posts, right? And they always seemed like they were, even if they weren't particularly selling something, they were either teeing up something to be sold or not. So I unsubscribed from that too. Now, he did an interview because he disappeared. His channel kind of went away for a while, where he talked about how it was all about the money for him. He didn't really care about music very much. Most of the time when he would do one of these videos, it wasn't because it was something he was passionate about. It was because he just looked up that band on Wikipedia, wrote out a script, figured out we've talked about it before on this channel, the thumbnail title combination is how you get people to watch. He figured that out, and then would make these videos, which actually were very informative. Now, the videos in and of themselves, if you're going to watch something and get some decent information and somebody's take on it, cool. But I think where the problem came in is that he was pretending to be somebody who he wasn't, because, and to use his words, he said that it was a means to reach a financial goal. He reached that goal, and then he stopped. And I certainly felt duped. And so that really gets to this whole world of online activity versus non-online activity. Now, I'm going to kind of go down a rabbit hole with this and then one other thing. So if you want to get to the new releases, to be honest with you, I haven't even looked them up yet. I'm going to go and look them up after this, but this is all fresh in my mind. So I'll put a timestamp. I usually don't because that would take forever. But I'll put a timestamp if you just want to get forward to the new releases that have come out this week. But this is something that I wanted to talk about because it's fresh. I think it's a conversation that has to be had, and I want to be involved in it because I exist in both worlds, right? I mean, of course I exist in reality, but I exist online too. And so this ties back into the Brawler thing, I promise. Anyway, so a lot of people felt like you had really gotten the rug pulled out from underneath you. You know, it's when we talked about it before, and this channel is a perfect example, right? We feel like we have a kind of virtual friendship, right? And you don't agree with all the things I say, and I don't agree with all the things that you say. And we talk in the comments, and I gotta say that I am really happy to say that I'm really happy to say. I have to, you can tell this is unscripted. I have to admit that I am very happy with the comments section because for the most part, 99% of the comments are very respectful and a sharing of ideas and sort of coming at it from this approach of, well, I know we're both kind of after the same thing, and they sort of have their guard down, which is what I wanted. And I think that this channel has really helped differentiate me from some of my peers where maybe you do feel like you're being sold to all the time. So that feeling of relatability and honestness, honesty. I am so sorry. Please don't judge me too harsh. That sort of thing where you feel like you do have a friendship, quasi friendship, it gets thrown against the rocks if that person tells you, oh, by the way, this is all an act. You know what? I mean, this guy's not into music. I'm not even an electrician. I don't even know what Carhartt is. You know, I mean, you just feel like, well, if I was going to watch fantasy, I would just tune into, a movie or TV or whatever. At least I know that those are actors playing a part. And I can always remember that that's George Clooney playing that part. But when you're watching, and that's the thing that people like about the online world, is that you feel like you're watching a real person. And this thing with Finn McKenty really, it hit me because I was a fan, and also just being a fan of music, it hit me kind of hard where I was like, no way. Are you kidding me? It's almost like when you found out that FPS Russia wasn't really Russian. And you're like, wait a minute, his name's like Alex? Or Kyle? Like, what is that? And so no wonder people are so skeptical. I mean, really, it's like I could sit there and say, well, don't be skeptical. I mean, I'm trying to do the right thing, but everybody, goddamn. I mean, if every time you're going to kind of put a little bit of trust in somebody, they're going to come back and say that they're not actually who they say they are. Yeah, of course you're going to be skeptical. That sucks. It just makes you jaded and not believe anything out there. So I can see why people attribute motive to something when you get these crypto pump and dump schemes. You get all this crap going around where it just feels like you are being taken advantage of at every step, and everybody's out to get theirs despite who it hurts. And so I cannot blame anybody for feeling that way, as much as I wish it was different. So anyway, I just don't know. Now, Finn McKenty turned out is like a marketing guy. Shocker. And I don't know what the strategy is here. It seems to me like this is a way to really just burn the boats, so to speak, to come out and say what he said. Now, I mean, I admire the honesty, but to just say that this was all for money and, I actually looked up all this stuff on Wikipedia and just put it into a pretty package. It's like, what about all those people over 1,000 videos and podcast episodes who feel like they're invested in you? And now they've just had the rug pulled. That's a terrible thing to do to somebody. And I don't know what strategy this is part of, that if you want to blow your credibility and people who were ever going to trust you again, that just seems like a silly move. Now, if his plan was to disappear from online stuff forever and then go and work for some company or whatever, then I guess that's what he could do. But the other thing is that in the world of online stuff, it does seem like people tend to forget very quickly. And I like watching stuff, about some of these crypto scams. CoffeeZilla is a great channel and stuff. And you watch that stuff and it does make you think just the worst of people. You go, boy, everybody's out to get, just get theirs. And I think that the internet does have a short memory, because it seems like the people who get caught have done it several times. So it's like, you could do this terrible thing. I mean, look at the stuff that the Paul brothers have done, and look at this new, Hawk Tuah scandal that's going on. And these people, they'll be back. They'll be back, and they'll have their fans, and people go, wait a minute, didn't you just screw a whole bunch of people out of $1 million? And people are just going to go, yeah, but look, she's cute, or he's funny, or whatever. And people just have this short memory. So, I don't know what the answer is, right? Alternatively, you can't just blackball somebody for making a mistake, right? Which actually, I think blackball goes back to a Masonic term, if I remember correctly. I am a member of the local Masonic chapter. If you didn't know, I don't really talk about that very much, mostly because I haven't been to lodge in a long time, but that's another story for another time. So anyway, all that to say, I can understand why people are skeptical of online stuff. And I've had to deal with that this last week. Not even a week. Thursday to Sunday. I have had to deal with that for the last 4 days. To a degree, which I guess maybe I wasn't prepared for. And, which is why, especially if you're a member of the Patreon, but if you watch this channel, I feel like you probably know me better than most people, right? So however many people will watch one of these episodes, a few thousand people, you guys really know me better than most people. And so before I did the brawl, the Jim Green 719, I've told you about since the beginning. And really, that was something I was going to do no matter what, because Gareth is a good friend, and I love that company. I feel this kinship to Jim Green and a real investment emotionally in how well they do. And so that video was going to be one that I was going to put out, or that boot was going to be a collaboration that I was going to put out no matter what. That wasn't the big question. The big question that I had to deal with a while back, and if you remember the Patreon, you could probably go back and find the exact post, when this was presented to me from Thursday, and I was like, ooh, a collaborative boot with Thursday. Is that a good idea? And I had to really do I remember the drive home, I had to think about that for a good hour of all the pros and cons, and I was battling with it, I was very skeptical of them in the past. What's it going to say about me if I do this collab? And back and forth and back and forth. And I said, well, maybe the best thing to do is just put it out and see what people think. Ask them straight up, And I see that the members of the Patreon, I see them as almost kind of like when you're talking to your investors. These are people who are supporting you monetarily, who, obviously they have some skin in the game. So I feel like I'm talking to my board of advisors and a small group of people who truly do want the best. And so I put it out to them first before I ever mentioned it on this channel, and told them the situation and threw it out there and the pros and the cons as far as I saw them at the time. And I don't think one person said, no, you shouldn't do this. Because the big selling point to me, and the big thing that I was kind of clinging to, or my big reason, right, for going forward was, I'm going to get to create something that's really cool at a lower price point, which will help more people get into the stuff that we do. And I think that Thursday has been a gateway drug of sorts that no other boot brand has ever done, especially with their $199 boots. So many people can trace back this obsession to that $199 Captain or whatever they got. And, they say, well, that was the one that made me go, ooh, what else is out there? Or maybe that's the one that introduced them to the rest of the lineup of Thursday. And, and then they got a wedge sole, then they tried something else or whatever. I don't know. But I think that they've done a good job at being that entry point for most people, even if that's where they stay. If I got to create something really cool that didn't exist at this more accessible price point, I don't see who loses out on that transaction at all. So again, asking people, asking for guidance, and then coming to you here. And I remember talking about it here and a bit of the struggle I was going forward with. And it just seemed like the right thing to do. So obviously we went ahead and made the boot, and it has been well received. It's sold out in a lot of different colors. I think, oddly enough, just a little inside information, the black T-core was the most popular, and I didn't think that would be the case. Cinnamon Wax Flesh was the least popular. So anyway, they're going to be restocking that stuff soon. And then the pushback came, and I expected it. I really did. Like I said, you have to sort of brace yourself for this stuff that's going to be coming in. And 95% of the comments were very positive. People saying that they loved the look. They're glad that Thursday was branching out into different things. Maybe they liked me. Whatever it was, they wanted something that was more expensive. You know, they wanted that Viberg 310 or Nix Prospector or Nail Shank or whatever it is, Chunky Toad Boot. They couldn't afford the $800 or $1,000 or $2,500. Now they have something at like $325 that they can get, and it really will scratch that itch for them. And here's the other thing, right? Let's say you get that Brawler and you go, this is great, I really like it. Well, now you know that you like that style, so save up and get the 310 if that's what you want. You know, I mean, people think of it as like a one and done kind of thing. This is a long journey for most of us. So anyway, I was prepared for that. And like I said, most of the comments were positive, but of course it's the negative ones that stick in your brain. And I saw plenty of the things saying that I sold my soul to Thursday, which is shocking because, you know, I would think that I would probably sell my soul for a lot more if it was even for sale. You know what I mean? This is no different than any other collaboration. You know, we worked out our deal is basically a commission kind of thing. You know what I mean? We put a lot of effort and work into the creating of this thing before a dime was seen. And then when they're sold and that return window closes, we'll kind of reconcile. So it's based on the reception, how well I do on it. If I make something that sucks, I don't see a dime. But I don't think that's the case. So, you know, I mean, boy, let me know when the Brinks truck is backing up from Thursday to give me that big commission for selling my soul, because I'll keep an eye on it. I could really use that money, you know. But people will say that, and from neither collaboration I've seen anything from yet. And to be sure, that's not why I do it. I think this is the big thing that differentiates me from a lot of other people on YouTube, is that I still am working a full-time job. I am still an electrician. I've been with this company that I'm with now for, I think, 9 years, maybe 8 years. I've been an electrician for 20 years. And that is what my family and I live on. This channel exists sort of in its own bubble. So the camera that I showed you last week, this space up here, this microphone and this microphone stand, these are all paid for with the channel. I have never taken money from my channel yet. At some point, I hope I can. But, you know, I guess people have this idea, right, where they see, you know, Mr. Beast or whoever driving around in a Lambo or something, I don't know, and they think that everybody's just getting rich online. That's just not the case. It's not my case, you know, but maintaining that day job allows me to do whatever I want. I could turn down something that really doesn't matter, or I could take something on and it kind of still doesn't matter. What I hope that it does, right? The reason I do these collaborations is it's multifaceted. Of course, I want to be able to offer somebody something that's great and that has my design influence on it. That's just awesome to make something really cool. And the after effect of that is being able to do videos like Things I Wish My Father Taught Me. That's the passion side of it. But to make those videos, it costs a lot of money. You know, I've talked about this before. That video, I brought a crew of 2 other guys out to Jimmy's place. We spent a day. So that meant taking a day off of work, hiring these 2 guys for the day. There was a lot of pre-stuff that you didn't see there. You know, like we had to pre-interview Jimmy, talk about what we're going to do, plan out the episodes so that we didn't leave there and then need to reshoot something. Of course, afterward, editing, all that stuff that goes into it. I was probably into that episode for probably $3,000 to $5,000 if I had to guess, somewhere in there. I really haven't added it all up yet. It might be more, but anyway, you get the idea, right? Those things in that video has not done well as far as views go. So I guess what I'm saying is that there is this balance of the stuff that I really want to make, like Things I Wish My Father Taught Me, which are funded by collaborations, ad revenue, affiliate income, stuff like that. And being able to spend 100% of what I'm making there without having to worry about living on it to these passion projects is how this happens. Right now I'm finishing up a video about cheaper work jackets, right? Doing a whole shootout, which means I have to buy these work jackets and then destroy them. I think I bought 9 jackets. And I actually have to remove the Duluth Trading Company one because they don't offer it anymore. It's discontinued. But I think I bought 9 jackets, if I remember correctly, and they're all going to be destroyed. Now, each one was somewhere around 100, almost $200. The cap, I think, was $200 on these. So I had to buy all those jackets. The time that goes into testing them and all that stuff, that video is going to be a net loss. I mean, I've showed you before what these videos make. My highest earning video, oh boy, what did it make? I can't remember. It wasn't very much. So people think if you have a video that's got over 1 million views, oh boy, you better be rolling in it. No. I mean, I think I get $7 per 1,000 views from ad revenue. So, that doesn't really, try making something great on $7 per 1,000 views. I mean, my videos aren't getting like 1 million views in a day. It's very complicated. So I'm sorry that I rambled, but I guess what I wanted to say is that I'm trying to make sure that stuff doesn't affect me, that I listen to the majority, that I do take criticism that has some merit and really pay attention to it. But the problem is if you're going to look at that criticism that is positive and constructive, that means you have to separate out all these personal attacks. I have been, just in this release, I have been called a fat man. I have been called all kinds of different things, alluding to not having hair. I have been, attacked on my appearance, about my voice, about everything you could imagine. And those are usually caught by my comment filter, and typically I'll just delete them because that's not helping anybody. But then I went on Facebook. There was a whole thing on there. Again, people who just have an axe to grind, and they would make posts, and there's a whole thing there too as well. And I try to really take the high road as much as I possibly can, because what's that old saying? Never argue with stupid people because they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. So I always try to keep that up. But I guess when it really does flood all in, it starts to seep into your real world. So I'm doing pretty well with not really letting it affect me. And I knew it was coming. And I know that this will die down and we'll get back to business as usual, which is what I prefer. But yeah, suffering the slings and arrows of this particular launch with the Brawler, it hasn't been easy. So again, I mean, it's all kind of part of it. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Actual work and kind of emotional work dealing with this stuff. So, hey, it is what it is. I'm proud of the product. I think a lot of people are going to like it. It puts something out into the market that didn't exist before. And I think a lot of people are going to be very happy with these boots and trying something new. And if that means that, it comes with some pros and cons, cons being, again, dealing with all the BS and comments and stuff, and the pros being able to fund other projects that I want to do, so be it. I really want to do a few more of those episodes of things I wish my father taught me. I want to find somebody who could do awesome barbecue, like I think I mentioned. I want to find somebody who can do outdoor skills and stuff like that. Maybe even some more stuff like in the automotive world, or, a lot of people have sent me ideas, and I appreciate that. I want to do that stuff. Those things cost a lot of money. And so that's why I'm doing it. It's all about creating videos. And if you're a member of the Patreon, I know I keep saying that, you've seen my internal struggle, because I will share with people there more than I will here about kind of the things that I'm going through. And also I get a good kind of, sense of how other people are feeling about it. All right, let's get on to the new releases. All right, new releases are still kind of slow because most of the companies are fulfilling orders from the holidays coming into the new year, but you're going to start seeing it. There was a big push before the holiday, and now there's kind of a lull. The next big push is usually before, oh, look, the sun's coming out. Is usually before, sorry about that, before May. And even if you look at ad spend, you could tell when the big buying seasons are. Even though it's sort of a lull right now, some products have come out that look really, really cool. And the first one I want to talk about, I've spoken about before, and I totally missed the drop, which I feel bad about because I love Michael from the Iron Snail. I think he's got a great channel. He and I sort of came up at the same time, and he has a really unique take. And I know that he's, hey, look, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and neither is he, but I truly do enjoy his stuff. And I like what he's doing with his clothing brand, which is doing a lot of what I wish brands like Filson was doing. And I think that it probably is embodied nowhere better than the Mammoth. And he did a drop and it sold out. And I don't really want to go into it too much because I don't want to keep telling you about things that you can't get. But it looks really good. And I think that he's done a lot of stuff with using unique textiles and a familiar yet tweaked pattern. So I love what he's doing. I'm sorry I missed it. I'm not really sure how I missed it, but I did. And that was a drop that came out. It's already sold out, but I just wanted to mention it because I do support what he does and I like him. And matter of fact, we've discussed doing a podcast together for maybe a year. So let me know if you'd want to ever see that. Ironheart came out with their 12-ounce whipcord modified Type 3 jacket in olive drab green. Now that's what makes this so cool. A few different things about this that I really like, and something that, of course, if you know me, you know that like anytime there's something that's green, I'm always kind of like, ooh, look at that. I love that color. I think it's an underutilized color. But they did a nice job with this. It's a familiar silhouette. You've seen the Type 3 Levi's. You know what it looks like. It has those V's on it. And this kind of gets back to my whole thing with, I mean, how much do you really owe to the original design of something, all right? I mean, look at the different companies that make a Type 3 jacket. We know that was an original Levi's design, but nobody ever calls out these other companies for ripping it off. But it's better for us as consumers because now you have all these different flavors of the Type 3. It's a great design. And so I see these almost as like a cover version of a great song. I mean, it's like Metallica did an awesome job with Turn the Page. And I like both of those things, and it made me aware of the original, like, why wouldn't you? So anyway, the Type 3 is a tried and true design. It looks great. I love what they've done here with the corduroy collar. The color combination here with the brown and green is not adventurous, but it's tried and true. It looks great. They did a really nice job, as you would expect from Ironheart. I got to tell you that I have a few Ironheart pieces, and with very few exceptions, I've never really been disappointed. The only things that have kind of disappointed me, I bought that loop wheel t-shirt. It's the t-shirt, and I really kind of don't. It was a mistake. I mean, I did it for that video, but it was kind of a mistake. I gave away that Mersby Schwan, and I gave that to Albert because my t-shirts, what I've learned is that there's a point where they're just too expensive, and I want to just wear a decent t-shirt. Ironheart, though, I think they're a safe bet for the most part. You're going to get great quality. You're going to get well thought out designs and a really good level of finishing. This is expensive, $435, but it looks awesome. Another company I love to talk about because they're usually doing something that's kind of interesting and different is Freenote cloth. Now they've come out with it looks like the same pattern in two of their well-known designs. So the Alta and the Benson. Now the Alta it's more of a shirt jack. It has hand warmer pockets, but if you're familiar with that design, you know more about it. This is $420. So again, you would know that it would be a little bit more like a jacket than a shirt. This is 7-ounce custom yarn dyed wool from Japan. 1/8 inch needle, double needle stitch detail, all the stuff that you expect from Freenote with the real horn buttons from Italy, custom labels made in the USA, 100% wool, which is great to see. The lining is a 58% rayon, 58% cotton, 42% rayon. I can't talk this morning. I don't know what's going on. And it's made in the USA. So that's the Alta. I remember their first one, and the first Alta they ever did had this really cool orange, and I regret not getting it to this day. It was such a cool looking color. Now the Benson, on the other hand, is a shirt. Now this is a wool shirt for $325. So I hope your ears perked up at that, because finding a wool shirt for this price is kind of rare. Now they're out there, but when you talk about the Duckworth and Heat Straps, of course, has their shirt and stuff like that, $325. That's not too bad. Now this uses the same wool, so it's the same 7-ounce wool as the Benson, or I'm sorry, as the Alta, but done up in a shirt. And I this is one that I think I may have to pick up. Most Freenote stuff is a little bit small on me, especially the arms and like the upper kind of chest area. It seems like a little constricting, but I do know that their Benson is cut a little bit more roomy. So for guys like me, who maybe want a little bit of extra volume in them, don't forget I'm a fat man after all, according to some commenters on Facebook. Well, then this is better. So this is one that I think might be really good. Made in USA, 100% wool, really cool color with that sort of rusty orange, brown, black combination here. It's hard to pass up. You might see me wearing a Benson shirt in the next episode. Now, a company that I wanted to talk to you about, and this isn't a new release, but it is something that I just discovered on my own. For my, when it comes to Christmas, it's about the kids. We get stuff for the kids. We very rarely get things for ourselves. And we kind of have the same thing every year. I say, let's just do stocking stuffers between my wife and I, because I really don't need any more things. Despite reviewing all this stuff and having a studio up here full of stuff, I'm kind of against consumerism. I don't like the idea of buying things just to have them. I like the idea of buying something, really loving it and wearing it, and then when it wears out, getting something else. I love that thought, and I find that I keep going back to the same things over and over again. That'll be a whole video in and of itself, I think. Maybe it'll be like the things that I really use on a day-to-day basis, because some of them surprised even me, especially when you have the option to wear so many different things, and I've gotten rid of a lot. But I end up going back to the same stuff over and over again. Well, the thing that I did get for myself is I got myself a new splitting maul. Ooh, the sun's coming back out again. I'm going to do that every time, so I hope you're getting used to it. So I wanted to get a new splitting maul. I had a few different ones. I have axes from a bunch of different companies. We used to burn about 5 cord a year, and I used to split wood. I remember, so going back and burning wood, splitting wood, and processing wood goes back to when I was a kid. And my father and I would head out. He had a Jeep Grand Wagoneer with the wood paneling on the sides, and I was always worried that it was like illegal, but we would go out to these areas in the forest, and sometimes down a tree, but more often than not, he would find that one that had fallen relatively recently, cut it up into log lengths. We would load those into the back of his Grand Wagoneer, bring it back to my house, my childhood home, and we would split it. And I think I've told you the story about how he converted my sled into like a log, or into like a wood carrying thing. It was basically what he did. He took my sled that I had when I was a kid, and he put 2 ropes on it that I would put one around each side, and I would just go and pull it through the snow. I'd make the same path and pull it up to the hoop that was near the house, and I would load up that hoop. And he would tell me, well, okay, if that hoop is loaded up, then we know we have 2 days worth of wood. And that was my childhood. I swear it sounds like it's Little House on the Prairie, but that's what we would do. And we didn't have a log splitter. As a matter of fact, the first time I saw a log splitter, I was like, why don't we have one of those? Why are we doing this all by hand? And I had a little hatchet they would give me because, of course, as a 6, 8-year-old, whatever I was, I wanted to be like him. So, he would show me how to split, small pieces of wood. And my mother almost had a heart attack when she came out back and saw me trying to split things with an actual hatchet. But, whatever. I never cut my leg off. He told me the proper way to split wood, kind of spreading your legs so that if you miss, you don't go right into your shin. Anyway, it's been in my blood. And there is something that I really love about splitting wood. And, he used to say it, and it drove me crazy at the time because I just didn't want to hear it, about how wood warms you 3 times, right? It warms you when you're either felling it and cutting it up. It warms you when you split it, and then it warms you when you burn it. And it's like, that is true. And there's just this payoff to working hard and feeling the warmth of that stove, So we still do burn wood. When the kids were born, I put in a forced air system in the house, but we still burn wood, and maybe a cord a year. So most of the time it's stuff that I'll drop around the yard. You did see me probably fall over one of those trees that I put in one of my videos recently. Still whack my head. Oh, that hurt. Anyway, splitting maul. I needed a new splitting maul. After a little while, what ends up happening is the head starts to sort of come off of the handle, and you get splinters. I mean, if you use it enough, it just starts to get worn. And I have had this one. This is like one that I bought long time ago, and it was actually on a fiberglass handle. I wish it was on a hickory or something like that. And anyway, so I was looking around for a good splitting maul, and I looked at the usual suspects, and I have a couple Grand Force Brooks axes that I really like, but with a maul, if you don't know, it's heavier, and think about like basically a sharpened sledgehammer. That's more or less what it is, and it's basically so that the maul will do the work as it's dropping. So you'll get that mass behind it and that inertia. And then it has a much more aggressive V to it so that it'll go into the wood and split it apart. Whereas some other axes are meant for different things. Well, I looked around Hoffman Blacksmithing, a lot of different companies, because I wanted something that was special, because that's what I do. And I ended up finding this one company that I cannot believe I haven't heard of before. So I'm going to bring it up to you in case maybe you haven't. And this is the Northman Guild. It is so let me read it just right from their website. It says, "We are a guild of northern master craftsmen who use our heritage of craftsmanship handed down through many generations to design and create woodworking tools, knives and weapons, bows and swords, leather goods and watches. Our process, our method and mission is to keep these traditions and crafts alive and well. In this high-tech age, our own traditional craftsmanship is flourishing." That was really cool. They have a bunch of courses on here, like a 10-day course on joinery. And I was like, okay, I'm in. Sounds like a really cool company. I like what they did. I went to their axes page and I was like, oh man, like you just fall in love. You see these things and they look unbelievable. So like, just like with some of these Swedish axes, I was like, this is awesome. There's a few on there that I really wanted that looked really cool, like their Baltic Finnish broad axe. It looks incredible, but what I needed was a maul. I need something that I can use to split wood. And I found this Finnish splitting maul. And it's expensive. You have to pay half down, and I think you have to wait about a year, and then they'll send it to you because, of course, they're actually gonna make it. And it's really quite amazing and just a beautiful, beautiful piece. So it won't be in until next year, and I'll have more wood to process then, but it looks awesome. So that was my gift to myself, and a company that maybe you haven't heard of before. And the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is a component to that. So this is another one that I got. This is from Meandering Maker, and I bought this maybe about a month ago. And really the reason is I liked it. That's really the reason. I don't really bring my axes anywhere with me. They stay here. I use them here. Even if we're going to go on a camping trip or something like that, it's usually not enough that I have to go and split wood. I think there's utility to an axe, but this is their, I don't know what they call it. I'll put it up on the screen, but basically what it does is it holds your axe. You know what I mean? So there's a little flap that goes over it with a little buckle. And in here, this is my, what is this? I think it's a council tool, their woodcraft line with a red nose leather sheath on there. You can see. And unfortunately, red nose leather doesn't exist anymore, but they made some awesome sheaths. And matter of fact, if you were a member of the Patreon, I gave away the ones that I had. He and I had done one together where we used leather from SB Foot. So it was that copper rough and tough that you get on the Iron Ranger. We had made a bunch of those, and I gave away a bunch of council tool hatchets with those sheaths on them to my members on my Patreon. So anyway, what's cool about this is it's made out of wax canvas, and it has, a lot of the things that are no surprise to you if you like this kind of stuff. But it'll hold your axe. It's closed on one end, and then there are some spots in here where it's open. So you can stick different things in there, and so it has this little compartment here, which almost looks like a dob kit kind of thing. So if you want to put, a sharpening stone or, any other kind of accessory in there, you can, and it sort of expands out too. And the cool thing about this is also it's removable. So if you wanted to take that off and either not use it, or maybe, if you're handy, you could come up with one that's bigger or something, and you could put that on there. Then there's a little spot here. So if you want to put something else in there, and then when that's covered up, that's not going to come out. On the back, there's leather, thinner leather with a shoulder strap. And I found that what you have to do when you're carrying it is you have to hold this thing upside down, because this is near the top. So the head of the axe is lower. That just as the way gravity holds it. And, this is, let's be honest, this isn't something you need. It really isn't. I love the idea of pretending like I'm Paul Bunyan and going out there and just splitting a whole bunch of wood. But I'm not going to be walking through the forest with my axe on my shoulder looking for, I don't know, great wood to split, you know. This was really just kind of something that I thought was cool, and a cool little maker, and a way to keep my little axe here, which is I'll use this a lot out in the yard. So when I'm doing stuff outside, at least I don't have to have it be naked out there. I got a way to carry it and to lash it to my tractor or something and go around. And anyway, I just thought that was cool, and I wanted to tell you. You gotta make sure you close that up the right way, by the way. Otherwise it'll open up. We're gonna go to the patrons only section right now, and we're gonna talk about something really interesting that I'm not even really supposed to show you, but we're gonna. And how's that for a tease? I know some of you don't like it, but for those of you who support me through Patreon, I want to always give you a little something extra. So we're going to go to that segment right now. For the rest of you, have a great week.